John!
What?
Red 7!
I don't know what Red 7 means.
Hot route!
I don't. What is hot route?
Will you just go stand on the other side, please?
Down! Ready, down, set, hut, 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 hut!
Hit me! Booyah! That's what we call a sack lunch. Nom, 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 nom.
It's time for the Soonerscoop.com postgame show presented by Eskridge Lexus in Oklahoma City. Eskridge Lexus is the official travel partner of Soonerscoop.com podcasts. Now, here's your road crew, Carrie, Eddie, and Bob, wrapping up all the action and reaction from this week's game.
All right, welcome back. It is another edition of the Eskridge Lexus Postgame podcast brought to you by EskridgeLexus.com. Go check them out. We just drove a 2020 NSX over to Waco this weekend, a 305-door SUV 4x4, and they've got a lot of these. These are really cool cars. We've driven this is the smaller version of the RX. We'll tell you a little bit more about it, but this is the NX if you're looking for more of a compact car. But let's welcome in the rest of the crew as Eddie Radosevich and Bob Przbillo join us as well. And boy, Oklahoma wins it 34-31. It's been
where you
hours. I don't know where to start. I don't even know if I still know what I saw tonight or last night.
It was a pretty good first half, though.
Was it? Pretty good first half for message board traffic.
Oh, my God. It was, it's just one of those games, and I think everybody has said it since the end of the ballgame in Waco, but this is one of those moments that, years from now, you're gonna know where you were the night that Oklahoma came back from a 25-point deficit to beat an undefeated Baylor team and basically ruin their season and extend your season.
Largest comeback ever, OU history. I don't know. I guess I was a little surprised. 25 is nice. I don't know when there could have been another, but
it's because
25.
OU doesn't usually suck that bad.
Yeah.
It's like they don't usually get down by 25, much less come back from 25.
What'd you say while we were walking out of the stadium? It was if you would have put the second half of the Iowa State game and then the first half of Baylor tonight,
you would take the
51-10. Is that what you said?
The fourth quarter.
Or just the fourth quarter?
Yeah,
Jesus
it
Christ.
was 20-0 in the fourth quarter. So the fourth quarter in the first half, 51-10. Is what OU is being outscored before they just turned it around.
Important stat, by the way. Oklahoma improves to 1-1 this season when trailing by 25 on the road.
This is true.
Yeah,
I don't think that made it in the stat book for somehow.
All the other great stats they had, and they left that one out.
They left that one out for sure.
And it was one of those things. It's like they're down 31-10, and everybody's freaking out on the message boards.
Oh yeah.
Even I would say that even my instant analysis got a little negative.
Well, I was just looking through my Twitter page before we started. It's like, some stuff I said in the first half that, it was embarrassing. That was as bad as it's been.
We didn't call Lincoln Riley a bitch like some people on our board did.
No, I didn't go that far. But even when go all the way back to 28-10, and just the way that game started with the interception and then nearly the pick six, and they still end up scoring a touchdown. It was kind of the entire thing was just like, oh my God, this is.
And Jalen Hurts was such a mess.
Yes,
and you're just
absolutely.
Like, what has Lincoln Riley done? Like, what has he brought to Oklahoma football? Like, this isn't what anybody signed up for. This is a disaster.
And this is what CeeDee Lamb means to the team.
Yeah, we haven't got into that.
Oh my God,
that one yet.
What a marathon of a day, really, from leaving Norman Saturday morning to kind of tracking that story throughout the morning and then mid-afternoon and then getting to Waco. And I think once we got to Waco, guys, we start talking to people and word starts filtering out. It's kind of like, okay, maybe there is something to this. Because I'll be honest, I laughed it off when we left Norman.
Working out and warming up.
Yeah.
And you're like, what?
When we get all that video together, Carrie, it just kind of the whole entire until about 8:45 this evening, it was just a shit show from the word go.
Well, and to be honest, I was a little gun shy from last week over the Kennedy Brooks deal when there were rumors all over the place that he was going to be suspended for the game. I could never confirm anything. You guys never really could confirm anything. And I was like, I don't get it. I don't see where this is coming from. And then he's out there, and he's the only guy that takes, pretty much reps from as a running back, plays the entire game, carries the first thing. So I'm like, is this just becoming a thing where someone every week is going to come up with a new rumor that we have to try and track out? So it wasn't like I was completely discounting it, but we start putting our heads together as we're driving down here, and we're hearing more of it, and we're talking about, okay, I heard this, and this is a tip I got, or this is a tip I got. Like, how does this all mesh together? And then we kind of started, and look, I don't want to get into a war with Lincoln Riley over this deal. I do believe that this was more of a suspension than it was a medical situation. And just like Lincoln Riley doesn't want to say when people, by the way, it was interesting tonight, Alex Grinch talked about how they had 4 people that had blown out their knees that were starters this year, when Lincoln Riley never wants to talk about blowing out a knee or anything like that.
Yeah.
Or specific injuries is what you're saying.
He doesn't like getting into the specifics of anything.
No,
Discipline,
he doesn't.
Which, go quickly,
injuries.
Trey Norwood, Caleb Kelly, Kenneth Mann, John, Michael Terry. Go.
I had to write them down, so that's pretty impressive.
Going,
I had Jordan Kelly, and there's like, no, he's back.
Going back to the concussion thing, though, I'll just tell you from our experience, when you see guys down on the field like that, if a guy has a concussion, which I think is kind of what they're hiding the veil behind as far as what CD Lamb
medical.
had.
They just
called it a medical
medical
injury. You never let a guy go through warm-ups like he did tonight.
No.
And that's why I think there's so much
smoke
to the rumors out there. And I guess kind of just to put a bow on it from my side of things is, he was asked if he's going to be available for Saturday against TCU, and I think he'll definitely play. Like, I would be just completely blown away, shocked.
It was definitely a one-time thing kind of vibe.
Yeah,
Yes.
and I know nobody.
You wouldn't let a guy dress out,
Yeah,
go through warm-ups
Well,
and all
the
that
whole
crap
thing,
if it was a
he had
multiple game suspension.
Well, think about all the
I
lengths.
didn't think it was a full game suspension. I mean, I didn't know. No one said, okay, it's the Kyler Murray, it's the Baker Mayfield. Nobody told me, okay, it's a suspension that's only going to last so long. They just said it's a suspension.
Well, and
he did
again,
something.
if it's a concussion, why the hell are they letting him back in the game last week? Why are they letting him come talk to the media Monday morning? Why are they? I mean, I talked to CD Monday afternoon at the luncheon, and he very much, and I'm not saying that I'm a doctor by any means, but did not seem like a guy that was having a headache or anything like that.
And
the bright lights.
Yes, yeah. Like, think about the lengths
they did the game day feature with them.
Well, and Josh had told us that, and I'm sure everybody that was watching the game said that it was a pretty weird interaction between
Chris Fowler
and Chris Fowler said something as far as basically like they were misled, which that never happens.
They were pissed.
Well, welcome to trying to cover the Sooners in 2019.
Well,
send them a gift package.
I don't want to spend the whole pod talking about whether Lincoln's a liar or not and all that stuff. And the real story is
he's
didn't
a pretty
play.
damn good coach. I know that.
He did not play.
And they found answers.
And Jalen Hurts had, let's face it, he had become too reliant on CeeDee Lamb. This offense had become too reliant on CeeDee Lamb. And I thought the story of the day, second half, CeeDee Lamb starting to trust his other receivers, whether it was getting back with Charleston Rambo, whether it was looking for Austin Stogner in the end zone, whether it was getting on the same page with Theo Weiss for the same time or for the first time. I mean, we saw some really Lee Morris, Nick Basquin, like we saw him look like a real quarterback.
Hey,
today.
listen, I know we've given the guy a lot of shit before, but
Not in the first half, though.
A.D. Miller came up with some big catches as
He
well.
did. I think he had 3 catches on the day.
It was Miller time.
It was definitely Miller time. I
But
wish I
let's
had
go
a
back-
Miller in my hand right now.
And let's go back to that first half. I mean, that was definitely the Jalen Hurts that everybody's been belly aching, including me. I'm not trying to make it like the fans are being unreasonable.
Sure.
We saw the one read takeoff, and that was hit Jalen Hurts in the first half. In the second half, I saw him like bouncing off of guys in the pocket, standing his ground. Yeah, sometimes his passes got batted down. Sometimes he wasn't able to complete his throwing motion, and a ball didn't make it to its destination. but I saw him make a more concerted effort to stay in the pocket and find open receivers in that second half than I've seen him make since the beginning of the season.
And he went 30 of
UCLA
42,
probably.
which is weird. It didn't feel like a 30 of 42, a 71% completion percentage night, but that's what it was for him.
I thought that the drive right before halftime, even though Baylor's able to tack on a field goal there before the end of the half, but
Huge.
I think it was 14 play. I don't have the book in front of me, but it was 14 or 15 plays, I believe.
14 play, 75-yard, 5 minute and 56 seconds.
Ended with the Stogner touchdown.
Right.
That kind of, it in a way, I think shifted the momentum a little bit. And just to be able to cut it from 25 down to 20, what it ended up being 21 at halftime, that was huge, knowing Oklahoma was going to get the ball at the beginning of the second half. And obviously, those two drives, I think, if you look back at this game, those were the two most important drives of probably the football game. And, I mean, gosh, you probably argue the season, just the way that entire thing started, and then obviously with the fumble, and I mean,
so
it just
if you're a Baylor fan, you're asking about that defensive holding instead of pass.
Hey, they worked for that one. The OU sideline worked for that one.
I'm going to say this: and Jalen Hurts even had to ask what the score was at halftime. Back to your point, Eddie, that was such a lift to go from 28-3 to 31-10.
You felt like you were back in the game.
It was like they needed to do. I felt like they needed to score twice, and they could have done that if not for the turnovers and the fumbles and all that stuff. Like they needed to cut it. Like I thought, okay, they need to cut this thing to 28-17 to have a shot. It was 31-10, but it still was enough of a lift. It felt like, and they got the ball coming out of halftime, and. Boy, they just put the hammer down in the second. I mean, I don't care if we're done talking about Jalen Hurts first half, bad Jalen Hurts. We should praise the hell out of what he did in the second half.
He was incredible. I mean, he won them the game, and they made some big time throws when they needed to. I remember we went all the way back to the beginning of the season talking about Hurts, and if he was going to be able to, when it came to nut cutting time, and it was 3rd and 9, and they needed to make a play, could he make those throws? First half they couldn't. Second half it was almost guaranteed, and I think that those two drives, the one that ended with Stogner's second touchdown, and then obviously the Braden Willis touchdown that tied it up, those were big time performances, big time drives. 14, 15 play drives that ate up the clock, kept OU in the football game, and the defense. It was just a perfect half. You put the first half of the Iowa State game and the second half of the Baylor game, and that's a pretty damn good football team, isn't it?
And they finally got the takeaway, and I don't know if it all turned, but it sure felt like when Parnell Motley deliberately tried to punch that ball and strip it out, the defense and the sideline, they all believed this comeback was about to go down.
That was absolutely, even though they don't get any points out of that with the Hurts red zone touchdown, which I mean, he got to take care of the ball right there. I mean, he was going to score. If he holds on to the ball, he falls into the end zone. But for them I think that turnover was, I think almost in a way too, Bob, that I think a 3 and out wouldn't have done the same as the turnover. The turnover ignited the sideline. I don't know if you could tell from up in the press box, but that was probably the most energetic Oklahoma sideline I've seen in a couple years, just as far as that every person on that team believed that they were going to come back and win that game. And I know that sounds corny, but you just felt it.
It was a huge juxtaposition to the first half when it was the most energetic press box
using my
we've
words.
ever been into.
You're using my words, juxtaposition.
Again.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean? What was going on up there?
Oh, it was a bunch of fanboys up
There's
there,
a
boy.
lot of Baylor fanboys.
Baylor media?
I don't know how their media.
I don't know if it was media or just the fact they let these people be in the press box.
It was like
there were hypos. Like there were sheriffs and stuff up there.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to say anything to them. They were just going, what's your license plate? I want to make sure I follow you.
I mean, anything that they would have said, you could have said. Yeah. Were you one of the ones that looked the other way when Art Briles was here?
Boy, I'm going to tell you, that shocked me when they played the schooner dumping over when they went up 14-3.
There was a lot of that was a great crowd tonight.
It was a little Bush League.
McLane Stadium that place was rocking at times.
It was good.
That was a great atmosphere for a college football game. But there's so many plays in the second half that I think you look back on it, and obviously you can say that now that they've won, but there's so many plays that you look back on, it's like they had to have that play.
Yes.
Or they had to get that first down or the stop.
With the way they did their drives, they weren't, I was thinking, okay, they're going to use tempo. They're going to try to extend this game as long as they can to get back in it. And they did the opposite. They grinded it out every single drive to where they almost had to be perfect going down the stretch.
Theo Weiss and Austin Stogner, I think they're going to be all right. I think they're going to be.
Theo Weiss,
they're going to be okay players.
My God. And then Jaden Hazelwood got some balls, or got a ball tonight. By the way, can I say something about the game day experience at Baylor?
Yes.
It's gone backwards a little bit, I think. Like, for one, how much thrash metal they have to lead the league in thrash metal on
like
the, on
in
the
between
Jumbotron.
plays and stuff,
third
yeah.
downs and stuff like that. The other thing is, like, all the in-game sponsorships they do, it's kind of low rent.
I've become so just like I tune that stuff out. So like yeah,
Baylor is like, it's like if you're gonna like Texas and Oklahoma, they're like Target, and maybe like Crest. Baylor is like Aldi. They're like the brand that has fake Captain Crunch and Oreos and stuff.
They have Mr. Pibb up in the. They have Mr. Pibb up in the press box. Dr. Thunder.
Oh, no, they had Mr. Pibb where Dr. Pepper was everywhere.
Oh yeah, I guess that is true here in Waco.
Baylor really is Dr. Thunder. They're not Dr. Pepper.
Wow,
they're an off-brand, man. They're that's a weird place.
I think it's going to be interesting, the conversation or the national narrative out of this one, just as far as was that a good performance by Baylor or was that just such a terrible performance by Oklahoma that I guess what I'm asking, I mean, does OU get credit for coming? I mean, they should get credit. Right. They came back it was a record-setting historical night.
We were talking about this on the way home. Like, I think what's fair is for the committee to just leave Baylor where they are.
Yeah,
just leave them at 13.
I don't think they're going to do that. I don't have the
Texas
faith in the program.
Kansas State loses today, which is not good.
No, it was an incredible night in Waco. There's no doubt about that. Gabe Burkich, about as solid of a freshman kicker as you can get. Like I literally don't think
that strut?
You can ask anything more of the guy. He hasn't missed a field goal. He hasn't missed an extra point. And extra points everybody thinks are just basically automatic. Like I had to make sure that every one of them was just to. I mean,
Minnesota
every point
missed
counts.
one, so where they had to score a touchdown instead of kick a field goal.
See, it just everything went right for Oklahoma. They pushed every right button. I thought Ronnie Perkins played extremely well.
Yeah, I was going to
bring
him up.
On the defensive line.
Parnell Motley played really well. Not just the punching out the ball, but, I mean, he played really well in coverage. Jaden Davis gave up that touchdown early when it looked like things were just kind of going bad. But, I thought overall you saw more guys stepping up and making plays tonight. You saw more guys flowing the ball. What was it, 25 yards that they had after halftime, Baylor?
Oh, it was 50-something.
Okay.
Yeah, they ran, 16 plays in the second half?
But it's because they got the majority of it, actually, on that last drive. Everything else...
I think 15 of that was a penalty.
Was a 3 and out.
Pass interference.
So, but that last drive, they were able to pick up some yards before Nick Benito. Who would have thought he'd be the one
it's funny.
Saves the day.
It's funny that it almost took OU that moment to get down by 25, and then after that it was like in a really strange way, it's like everybody took a deep breath and was like, it can't get any worse than this. Let's just go play.
Lincoln mentioned that about having the whole team huddle, which she's only done a couple other times, and just saying, hey, let's finish this half off strong and then we'll get them in the second half. And there wasn't a look of panic. There might have been a lot of fans that are already tuned out, but on the sideline it looked like they were still there.
Could you guys tell up in the press box just how tired that Baylor defense was getting?
You could tell.
Late in the second half. I mean, it seemed like just keep giving the ball to Kennedy Brooks. I was kind of surprised that they tried to get through the air there at the red zone at the very end of the game. But I guess you kind of had to. I mean, they were high percentage plays just as far as getting Charleston Rambo out in space. I thought Rambo had a pretty nice evening as well.
Yeah, he didn't have any catches at the first half, I don't believe. And he had 5 for 50. They got him involved in that first drive. And then that led to Lee Morris getting involved. Then finally starting to get with Theo and
Lee Morris
Jaden.
He's a heck of a football player.
A couple of those catches by Lee, not only the catch
Fingertips.
or after he got hit. And it just doesn't matter. He always holds on to the ball.
That the fingertip one going back towards the Baylor sidelines, that's one of the better catches of the season for Oklahoma.
I'm going to tell you this. Oklahoma scores 34 points in that game tonight. They're going to go watch that film, and they're going to say, man, that was a hell of a defense we just faced. I mean, their defense is good.
Baylor's?
I mean, they hit, man. I mean, I don't know that I've seen another defense hit like they do all year.
Oh, I thought Rambo was killed one time.
Yeah, I mean, it was impressive. I mean, the Lynch kid, James Lynch, is everything. He was cracked up. The Lockhart's a really good player. They're just good. I mean, the Terrell Bernard kid is really good.
It was tough to break tackles. So when Theo Weiss did, it was like, oh,
it was tough to separate in space from their guys too. They were sure tacklers.
Well, it'll be interesting. I think that
Kennedy Brooks. Like, I mean, I haven't seen people tackle him that well ever.
Yeah,
ever.
Yeah. There was a couple times that I thought he picked up 5 or 6 yards, and I'd look up and it was no gain. Just him trying to fight back to get to the line of scrimmage,
which was the problem with Jalen Hurts early in the game because he was taking off and it wasn't going anywhere, and it would lead to drives that were leading to nowhere.
I wonder what that message was from Lincoln Riley, just as far as, I mean, he obviously said something. He calmed him down at somehow, some way. I wonder what that conversation was like, in whether it be the locker room or. Whenever
it was a Mr. Miyagi moment.
I thought probably the quote of the night was the Jalen Hurts comment about him and Alex Grinch's interaction right before halftime, right? Saying that coming out of halftime, saying that they're gonna. I forget what the exact quote was, but it was you're gonna tell your kids about the way that this ends or something, and I mean that's kind of special. That's what makes college football so great as far as. Building those memories or whatever.
The other thing we heard post-game, which is just weird too, talking with Motley, he said that they watched film of the Super Bowl where the Patriots were down 28-3 as Grinch's example of how you fight back from adversity. And, of course, it was 28-3 tonight.
Yeah, it was. And you know, I thought the biggest thing that I took from the post-game from the coaches and the coaching perspective is they were fired up about the way that they practiced this week.
Yeah. Well, I even tweeted before the game, like, just being down there for the pregame stuff, that was as energetic as, whatever you want to call it, high energy. That was as ready as I've seen an Oklahoma team, and that's why when they dug themselves a 25-point hole in the first half, it's like, well, shit, maybe that stuff just doesn't matter, But they did stay they stayed locked in. Credit to them for the way that they fought back, and obviously it was a night that I think Oklahoma fans and probably even Baylor fans will remember for a long, long time.
For much different reasons.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably number one on the most heartbreaking list of losses in Baylor history.
Has to be. You're basically 30 minutes away from going 10-0 for the first time in school history. You're up 21 points.
Game day was there.
Game day's there.
Damn, Lee Corso jinxed him.
The eyes of the nation, in a way, are there. I mean, everybody was watching that game, and just the way that Oklahoma was able to battle back. I didn't allow myself to think that OU was going to be able to pull off the comeback until Theo Weiss scored right there at the beginning of the fourth quarter, and I think. Once you cut it to 7, you finally get over that hurdle. It seemed like they were on that 14 number for so long after the Jalen Hurts fumble that once they cut it to 7, you kind of got this feeling even in the stadium, I think the fans kind of thought to themselves, uh-oh, this is not trending in the right direction.
Let's do a little bit of this right now on the podcast.
Eskridge Lexus is all about embracing the best. That's why they are the official travel partner of the Soonerscoop.com podcasts. So it's time for us to recognize the Sooners' best with our Eskridge Lexus Player of the Game.
All right, Eskridge Lexus. Boy, my producing skills are sucking right now. There we go. The Eskridge Lexus Player of the Game. I want to get to that because I don't know how the guys feel. I think I zeroed in on a guy, but want to remind you guys, Eskridge Lexus and EskridgeLexus.com, great supporters of the podcast, especially the post-game podcast, because they give us vehicles to drive on the road. Today we had this weekend the 2020 NX 300. It's a 5-door SUV. I got to tell you, the interior in this car is fantastic. Glazed caramel is what they call it. Very, very comfy. Whoops, I'm sorry. I got rid of Eddie.
Very, very comfy.
Are you okay in this one? Because it's the smaller one.
No, I'm fine. I'm fine. It's a comfy seat in the back, and I'm not going to lie to you. I particularly can't wait to sleep in it on the way home tomorrow.
He'll shower in the morning, Ed, so don't worry. We're not going to stinkify the car or anything. But yeah, I mean, we've taken the RXs a couple times. I know I saw some people on our board talking lately about their wives. They just got sick of driving around Suburbans and stuff, a smaller SUV. This thing is perfect if you want something a little bit smaller or you want something a little bit more sporty, but it's got all the luxury features of the regular cars. I mean, the one we've got's got the parking assist, the nav system. It's got the CarPlay. It's got the destination. I mean, it's got everything. It's really cool. Bob and I I've never met another person who is as different in a climate controlled environment than Bob.
62 the entire way.
It's got the dual climate system, so he's doing his seats, whatever you
make sure they weren't
like
heated.
On your sit.
Did
You
not
don't
want,
like them heated, but
I
you
didn't
do like
want
them
them
cooled.
heated.
I think Bob would just like to live in a wind tunnel, is what I think.
Like a little igloo.
Like just if he had to have set the setting and just
I
have
like the
things
cold.
blowing on him.
I
all
like
the
the
time.
cold.
So yeah, I mean, but no, I don't notice him over there. He's doing his thing. I'm doing my thing. We got the Sirius XM going. We had every stinking game that known to man that was on today, listening, driving down. So it's just a great vehicle. Go check it out if you're looking for a new smaller SUV. It's 4x4. Check out the new 2020 NX 300s. Eskridge Lexus. EskridgeLexus.com or give him a call, 405-755-9000. And tell Ed, ask for Ed Eskridge and tell him that you're a Sooner Scoop podcast listener, Sooner Scoop subscriber. He'll take even better care of you than if you just walk in off the street. So thanks to Ed Eskridge and Eskridge Lexus for taking care of us all season. We still got one more road trip to Stillwater to go this year. But guys, this game tonight, it essentially assures that Baylor and Oklahoma. I mean, is it, Bob? Is it a done deal? It's not a done deal, is it?
I don't think. I mean,
something could happen.
But Baylor would have to lose to Texas and Kansas. Maybe they lose to Texas. Maybe they're deflated by this and they don't play well. But how do you lose to Kansas in that final game? Because then it'd be like a log jam of teams with 3 losses, and even if OSU beats the Sooners, I would add Cowboys in the mix with Iowa State.
But OSU's lost 3 times. I mean,
but that's the only way.
Lost 3,
every other team has
K-State's lost 4?
Yes, every other team has lost at least 3.
And Texas has lost 3.
It's Baylor and OU have lost 1.
1 apiece. So they both win 1 game. They're both locked in.
Yes.
OU beats TCU next week. They play Kansas, and then Texas is their finale, right?
No, they play Texas.
Oh, that's stupid.
Kansas is their last game.
Baylor and Kansas is the last game of the conference slate.
No one expected it to mean anything.
Yeah, that's true.
You think Kansas fans are like, God, we just want basketball to start. We just want to keep paying players. Come on, Adidas, just cancel the game. Maybe they'll buy out of the game.
They just want basketball to get here and be over with, so it doesn't get shut down.
Well, them in Kansas, they're going to be on a race to who can win as many games as possible, and then get it vacated at some point here moving forward.
I'm sure there's going to be FBI jackets all over the Big 12 arena. Ames, Iowa. Oh my God, can you imagine? That'll become like the de facto uniform that you wear to play Kansas in the league.
There will be a lot
gear.
of people wearing that shit, I'm sure.
So anyway, but yeah, I mean, I player of the game though, we haven't even named one.
Oh, I mean, it's which way do you want to go?
Yeah.
You can make a lot of arguments.
It's hard because Jalen Hurts first half, but he is the reason that they played so well in the second half. You can make a case for Kennedy Brooks because he got to run the ball tonight like a regular human boy, like a real boy, a real running back.
He's a real boy.
I was gonna make the case for Mr. Ronnie Perkins.
Yeah. See, if you guys wanted to go Jalen Hurts, I was gonna go Ronnie Perkins. I think that's more than fair.
He had all 3 sacks, and really, Benito's thing almost wasn't necessary. On Perkins' last sack, Brewer almost lost that ball.
Did he?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll go honorable mention Gabe Burkich if we want to.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I mean, you make a game winner and then you make a, 4 extra points as well as another field goal, 2 field goals, 4 extra points. Hell of a night. Especially for a freshman to be put in that spot and really basically untested in a way.
And
he's been
Lincoln
solid.
Mess up before.
How the hell does that happen?
Because it was fun. Like, you could see the ref blows the whistle to play. So that 25-second clock's going. OU doesn't even get out into the field till about 17, 18 seconds. And it was really close.
They were in no hurry.
I was actually right next to the official that Lincoln Riley asked for timeout for. That was really close to being delay a game first.
I just don't understand how that happens.
Well, they thought up in the press box that it was delay a game.
It felt like.
Yeah.
Unless he screamed
but
it
he
and
iced
the ref,
his own kicker.
He did. That's what I'm saying. He that's how good Gabe has been. He iced his own kicker. It
Hey, I'll
did
tell you
not
what, Lincoln Riley and that coaching staff, they worked for every bit that they got tonight. That holding call, like the referees had turned the offense was out on the field.
Yes.
And the side judge came in after talking to Riley, went up to the head official, to the white hat, and I mean, it was a good 2 minutes after that possession was over that they went back and said, okay, let's relook at this. Obviously, Oklahoma gets the holding call, and the rest is history.
You want to know a crazy scene up in the press box? I don't know if you saw this, Bob, or not, but they have halftime. The coaches come back up.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Their offices, where the rooms that they're in on the same level as the press box in most press boxes. So the OU coaches come up.
Oh, so like Kale and all those guys.
Kale and Austin
Jay,
Wood.
yeah.
Austin is a defensive guy now. But, yeah, Bullware comes up. All the offensive assistants.
Ty Darlington.
Brian LePack, I think. But anyway, so they come up and they go straight to the cookies, and they're milling around and they're getting drinks. And I'm like, do these guys give a shit at all?
It's 31-10.
Hey, you're down by 21.
Yeah, you're down
get
by
out
20.
of here.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm like. If people saw this,
and you can talk about it now because they came back and won.
The Baylor coaches are running full speed ahead.
No, here's the thing. The Baylor coaches, and the OU coaches are still getting cookies, and it's like, what are you doing? The Baylor coaches, they come up the elevator. They're like little green army men in Toy Story. It's like, hup, 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 and they're just running right through. They're literally running. Like the floor is bouncing up and down because they're running to their coach's office or whatever booth or whatever you want to call it. And they're the OU coaches just grabbing cookies and getting Dr. Peppers, and I'm just like, God, they're going to get killed in the second. And then they go out and they outscore them 24-0.
That was
I don't know. Does that say what confidence that the staff has in Lincoln Riley, in their players, that they just come up there and
maybe a little bit
act like they're at an ice cream social?
Well, I mean, 72 hours ago, I would have just said that Kale's focused on calling plays for Florida State for Bob next year.
Yeah, thank God that whole thing is over. But look.
Oh, you know what? The play that nobody has talked about yet, that we talked about on the way home, was the punt.
Drake.
Not only with Drake almost touching the ball, how about the running into the kicker?
Yeah.
I
didn't even know that guy was on OU's team, to be honest.
You do now, and for all the wrong reasons. He about had to walk home from Waco.
Well, how about Trey Brown almost fumbling away the ball on a great return that would have been called, but they would have declined that penalty if they would have jumped on the ball.
But yeah, you knew on the
there was
punt,
some weird special teams tonight.
On the punt issue is he didn't hit the plant leg, so it was only going to be running.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, I initially when the flag's thrown, I see it out of my periphery. I'm tracking the punt with the ball, and I immediately panned down with the camera to the penalty flag because I figured, wow, they just screwed it. Like, this game's over now. This game's over. It's gonna be personal foul.
The momentum goes all the way back to Baylor.
Yeah, absolutely. And the first thing after I looked at, I got some video of the flag, and then I immediately shot some of Matt Rule, and I saw him throwing his hands up, kind of disgusted with the call, and I figured, okay, well, it's just running into the kicker. He's gonna have a chance now.
But that's how it's supposed to be.
It was such a good acting job.
If it's not the plant
was it an
leg,
acting job?
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Okay.
He thought he needed amputation.
Well, that's why I originally thought, like, oh God. Like, why would you even be close to this guy? But that was an incredible sequence, and then obviously that leads to the game-tying drive. And, I mean, that's as and obviously it's easy for us to say this now, but that was about as fun of a second half as I've been down on the field for in an Oklahoma game.
How different was that stadium? Because you're more down there than we are, although we had the windows open, so we sort of felt it. How different was that stadium in the first half compared to the second half?
Oh, it was electric. I mean, it was one of the better atmospheres that Oklahoma has
probably that in 2015
been in
when
a
OU
while.
played in it. That's
Yeah,
the best
sure.
two nights that they've had since they moved to McLane.
Oh, there's no doubt that has to be the two best atmospheres, just because it's packed. I mean, obviously it's packed, and they've had other sellouts. But when Oklahoma comes to town, it's a little bit different. Everybody knows that. Everybody, I think, recognizes that fact that everything gets kind of upticked, I guess, if you will, when Oklahoma comes to town, and especially with everything that went into this game, it was just it was an incredible college football atmosphere, and one that I'll definitely remember for a long time to come.
I think I saw Kenny Mossman with a great tweet earlier tonight or this morning, wherever we are now. He basically said everyone is excused for what they had to say before halftime on Twitter tonight.
Listen, anything that you have to say on Twitter or on the board or wherever in the sanctity of your own home, you are allowed to say that. You are allowed to say that because at no point should Oklahoma be getting their ass whooped like they were. And I mean, that's just straight up. That's what it was. That was a brutal ass beating in the first half.
I think I took it a little too far when in the instant analysis I said, please burn the alternate uniforms at halftime and switch to the all whites.
Oh, that would have been awesome if they would have come out in different uniforms,
and
like Mighty Ducks.
And then they did like they did tonight. Like, can you imagine, like, if that had really happened? Like, they're down 31-10, they come out in the all whites.
That would have been crazy.
And they come back and make
Ducks
the biggest
fly
comeback in
together.
history.
Who would have brought them back? Who would have brought the jerseys in? Like, you know how I can't even remember
Adam
the guy's
Banks?
name. No, what's the older guy's name?
No.
God, I'm supposed to be this big Mighty Ducks fan, and I can't even think of it. It's 3:50 in the morning. That's my fault.
The one of the enforcer guys?
No. The oh God.
It wasn't
the grandfather
Emilio
guy.
Estes. Oh, the Swedish guy?
Yes.
Yeah.
When he brings all the jerseys in. When they change out of the USA jerseys and they put the Mighty Ducks jerseys on.
Yeah.
Come on, Eddie. Be better than this.
That is your jam, too.
I watched it on like Thursday.
That's like forgetting something in Home
Hans,
Alone for you. Hans. That's
Jesus
right, yeah.
Christ, Eddie.
And didn't Hans die in the second one? Or he died the one after, because that was the second one.
I think the college years he did, but
very sad.
Oh yeah, I'm still shaken up about it.
So Sooners move on. They are headed to the Big 12 championship, where they will probably face Baylor again. And I'm going to say this, after looking at stats tonight, like, OU dominated this game statistically.
Oh,
because the turnovers, what Jalen did in the first half.
The turnover situation is crazy.
But you look at it. I'm not so sure OU can't just really kick the shit out of Baylor.
I would say if they play again in the Big 12 championship, I think that technically OU hasn't clinched, right? Technically, they haven't because they could lose to Oklahoma State.
They could have 3 losses.
They haven't clinched the 1 seed for sure.
Yeah,
like they need to win out to do that.
Sure,
and then they're the home. Well, are they even doing that? I can't remember. Or is it luck? One team is the home team, and the other it's like not a seeded thing or something stupid.
I'll say this: if Oklahoma plays Baylor again, I think they'll win by 2 touchdowns or more.
If their defense continues to get, decent.
What
that's the
what is easy?
Everything.
I guess what is easier to explain, the way that Oklahoma played in the first half or the way that Oklahoma played in the second half? And then inside that question, is it easier to figure out how they found success offensively, or what happened defensively that just everything started clicking? Was it just a matter of getting more pressure on Brewer?
I think like you guys said, they wore him down. I mean,
Yeah.
I just really felt like Baylor lost their edge.
You think the defense being on the field made the offense not find its rhythm? Because that's what we're sort of wanting. Like, why did the Baylor offense sputter and just go into a shell and do nothing?
I mean,
we know
Baylor's
what the defense did because they got tired.
Baylor's biggest problem is they don't have a running game like Oklahoma, and they don't have a great offensive line. It's just in their running game was Charlie Brewer tonight. I mean, he was what really made that offense go.
Couldn't stop him in the first half.
He had a great night in the first half.
And you know what? I think it's just, too, a matter of tackling guys. I mean, Neville Gallimore was in position a couple times in the first half to make a play behind the line of
Kenneth
scrimmage.
Murray had some rough times tonight.
But then it was so weird. It's like something just clicked in the third quarter, and all of a sudden Kenneth Murray's making
like they were back to the old OU defense.
Yes, Kenneth Murray's making havoc plays.
Yeah.
Ronnie Perkins is sacking people. Parnell Motley's knocking balls down. It's so crazy how inside of a game like that,
Pat Fields was making a lot of good plays tonight.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Delarian Turner-Yell didn't stand out, but he also didn't stand out in a bad way.
True. Now, what was it? I think it was the first. Oh, it was Baylor's first possession.
They had a touchdown.
I mean, you hit that. The guy's wide open. He walks into the end zone.
Yeah.
But they were able to figure it out. They were able to turn it around, I guess. I don't know. I mean, 28-3. I'll just say this. I don't think you guys want to read my text messages.
No, you don't want to read mine either.
The whole thing was just, in a way, it was almost comical. I told Josh Gately, he shoots pictures for OU. Mm-hmm. I told him, I think at the beginning of the third quarter, I was like, honestly, like, you can't even be that mad. It's just almost comical to a point. They played so poorly that it's almost just like whatever. I mean,
well, it's like you spend the entire half like this season's over. Well,
yeah, you would become
ready
at peace
for San Antonio,
with, if you will.
The Alamo Bowl.
It just the whole thing. It was.
Somebody said
it was incredible.
I think we were talking to Kersey up there, and he was like, "I am not going to the Russell Athletic Bowl."
He's just like, I'm putting my foot down.
Or Outback,
not doing it.
The Out Camping World Bowl or whatever it is now.
Pretty wild.
He's like, I'm telling the Athletic that I'm not covering that.
Pretty wild. If you would have told me that OU was going to be down by 25 at one point, they weren't going to have CeeDee Lamb, and they were going to lose the turnover battle.
What is this?
OU's going to win the game, I would have said, you were insane.
What do you guys think this does for the fan base moving forward?
Oh, there's going to be some people that I'm sure that are unhappy, but those people are probably generally unhappy persons in their
you're
life.
Saying those will be more in the minority, though?
I think so. I mean, in a way, I think it's not energizing, but there is something.
It gives you some pride.
Yeah, I think so. Just from reading the board and reaction from Twitter and social media and things like that. Like, this is the type of win that you can take some momentum. You can take something into that TCU game. You get another night game. Congratulations. I know that winning Big 12 championships has become like this thing for the Oklahoma fan base. Like, oh yeah, it's just another Big 12 title. It's like, it's kind of like the offensive numbers that I've been trying to preach over the last couple of years. Like, it's not normal just to wake up and win the Big 12 championship every year. Like, it takes some work. It takes some games like this. It takes special moments throughout a season to go 11-1 or 12-1, and maybe that's not good enough to get into the college football playoff this year. But you know what? Like, you're there. You're in this spot right now, so just enjoy it. You got 2 more games left.
Minnesota losing. There's your first.
Alabama pretty much going down with Tua being out now.
That whole thing sucks, man. I'm not gonna say like my heart is broken by any means, but that sucks for Tua. I hope it's not an injury that cost him his career.
It's hard for me to wrap my brain around because I really haven't seen a good replay of it yet, and it's probably a little morbid to say, but it's like I need closure. I need to see how bad this thing is. Like, I mean, I remember, you weren't ever going to find a bigger Bo Jackson fan than me, but there were a couple like doctors out there like that looks like the Bo Jackson injury.
Yeah.
Like, they got to get him to a hospital, and they medevaced him out of there.
That's insane. Yeah, I saw that Aaron Suttles had tweeted something. Somebody had sent him a picture from the tarmac, basically.
God.
as they're wheeling him out. How about this stat? Nate Fakin from Oklahoma's News Channel 4 threw this one at me.
Weather liaison?
I am a weather liaison. I also do some In Your Corner stuff for them. I haven't been on Channel 9 yet. Still waiting on an invite. Teams were 1-902. 1-902 on the road versus top 25 teams when trailing by 25 points in the game since 2005. That's from ESPN Stats. 1-902. That's insane.
It's hard, the whole night. It's hard to wrap your head around what you saw, how it happened, how bad a team could be, how good a team could be, all in one game.
I guess, and just, are we closing this thing down, kind of?
I think so. Let me say this though, before you get to your thought.
Okay.
We did the players of the game. I want to say this about Jalen Hurts. We've spent plenty of time picking his game apart. I think tonight the thing that was most impressive to me is that you saw a guy in the middle of the game. I feel like this is the end of the speech at Rocky IV. Like change, like become a different, work to be the guy that we all think a quarterback should be, that we saw Baker Mayfield and Kyler Murray be, a guy that stood in the pocket and let it collapse around him and still look for an outlet, look for a guy to throw the ball to. And, just watching Theo Wease and that touchdown run he had was amazing. I think fans should be very excited for the future. I want to see more Jaden Hazelwood. I don't know what was going on with
Trajan
Bridges not being in there tonight. But, God, I want to see some more Theo Wease. I mean, hopefully when CeeDee Lamb gets back, he's one of many and not just all. So, I mean, I think that's important. I want to see more Charleston Rambo. I definitely want to see more Lee Morris. I mean, spread that ball around, dude. Like, don't just know that you can throw it to CeeDee Lamb every time and he'll save your ass, because that's not what's best for the offense. What's best for the offense is what we saw in the second half. And bravo to Jalen Hurts. That was as good as I've seen him all. That was the guy that I thought he wants to come here, learn from Lincoln Riley, become a better quarterback. That was the better quarterback that I thought he was going to become in the second half.
You would have to think that the way that game played out, there is a confidence that Hurts now has in a guy like Theo Wease. Hurts has in a guy like a Jaden Hazelwood. Hurts has in a guy like a Lee Morris even.
Yeah.
You would have to think that is it's a builder in a way, just as far as what they were able to accomplish.
I think we all thought Jalen Hurts sort of embraced OU after Texas.
Boy, he did
but
it again
going
tonight.
into the student section and smiling the way he did, that's another level.
Yeah. He said it after the game tonight. He said, I know that I've kind of professed that I've embraced OU, but this is a real brotherhood for me now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think and then more than anything, it's just like for that many young guys to win a game like that, it just I think that it was Roy Manning put it out after the game, just as far as like, if you're not a believer, you got to believe now in this team or whatever, which is completely just coach speak or whatever. But I think at its core, the message is right. Like, I think that this is the type of win that can, and who knows what's ahead, but it can project a season to maybe elevate even more, as far as that's the type of win, that's the type of performance that you can.
It could be a real chemistry builder, yeah.
Yeah, and you're going to get more out of it than maybe just a win tonight. It's going to pay dividends on down the road, if you will.
All right. Really appreciate you guys. Appreciate folks at Eskridge Lexus for making this possible, as well as the folks at MidFirst Bank. Go check them out as well, midfirst.com/U40, title sponsor of our Unofficial 40 podcast. So Sooners win it tonight, 34-31, in one of the it is the biggest comeback in the history of Oklahoma football. One of the best comebacks you're going to see all year in college football. And Sooners now move on to play another night game, 7 o'clock against TCU next week. So sleep in, be ready to stay for the fourth quarter, because that has a chance to be a really good game too, as they beat Texas Tech today. And, of course, they gave Baylor everything they wanted a week ago. So finishing out TCU, Oklahoma State, not going to be an easy slate, but it should be a lot of fun. And hopefully you guys will get a little bit more fired up than you have been the last couple of weeks, because I know it's been tough, but I think this team is showing you something.
Lincoln Riley's already put out the message to the fans.
Yes, he did.
And let me summarize. This isn't verbatim, but it was, your ass better be in a seat, and it better be loud on Saturday night.
Yep, he already sent out the tweet.
Good. All right, well, thanks for listening, everybody. Thanks to Bob. Thanks to Eddie. I am Kerry Murdoch. We'll see you back here next week after TCU on the Eskridge Lexus Postgame Podcast from Soonerscoop.com.